Hey, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I'll be sharing with you the books that I have obtained recently. Hauled, I guess is a better word. I don't know why I need to sound so fancy. So it had been a really long time since I have gotten a lot of books at once because I wasn't actively reading anymore. But the past 2 months I have been hauling more books because I have gotten back into reading, and even though I've only just gotten back into reading, I already kind of need to put myself on a book buying ban because I got a lot more than I expected to. And what I want to try to do is read all of the books that I have before buying more books, because then I'll keep hauling books without having read previous books I've already gotten, and it just leaves me with a bunch of books surrounding my room that I haven't even read. Like, I want to read all the books that I buy before buying other books. Otherwise, things get out of control. And I'm just hauling books without even reading them, because that's what has happened to me before, and it's not good. So I'm probably not going to be hauling, well, hopefully I won't be hauling as many books after this, but I did end up getting a few books, meaning probably over 20. So I'm just going to be sharing the books that I have gotten within the past 2 months. I'm going to be sharing these in the order of where I got these books. So the first place I'm going to show is the books I got from Amazon, and I actually got most of these books for free because my dad gave me an Amazon gift card for pretty much no reason. It was so random and so sweet. So I had that gift card sitting from Amazon for a while and hadn't been using it, didn't know what to use it for, but then I was like, hey, since I'm getting back into reading, let's get some books from Amazon with it. So thank you, Dad, for the gift card. I got hopefully some pretty good books out of it. So the first one I'm going to share is Crescent City, or this is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I am a big fan of Sarah J. Maas. I love her A Court of Thorns and Roses series so much, as probably some of you know because I talk about it a lot. So I really want to read more series from her, and this is her more newer series. I think this one came out last year, so it's pretty new. The first book is out. The second book is coming out in 2022. So I really want to get on this series and start with the first book. I know very little about this one. I know that it does have 𝑓𝑟𝑒 in it, and that's pretty much it. So it looks like it's going to be another paranormal fantasy series, and this one is also an adult series, like A Court of Thorns and Roses is. So I'm sure it'll be right up my alley, and I'm so excited to start it. And then I got every single book published and written by Aaron Watt. I have gotten all of their books thus far. This is all the books they have out, and I really want them to write more because they are one of my favorite authors. They're an author duo. Their books are amazing. I've read all of these. So the first one is the 𝑑𝑜𝑑𝑎𝑦 series, which is a series that I love so much. I really want to reread this series. And the first book is Paper Princess. I'll just hold up this one because there's 5 of them and it's a lot to carry, so we'll just hold up this one. I really enjoyed this series when I read it. I read it in 2018, and I sped through the series so quickly because I was so into it. If you want to know what this series is about, it is a contemporary new adult, young adult. I'm kind of not really sure. It really borders the line between YA and new adult. I want to say it's more of a new adult series though, because the themes in this series are pretty dark, but it follows this girl and she gets adopted into this rich family after, I think, her mom died. It's been a long time since I read this, so I can't really remember all the details, but she gets adopted by this guy, and he has a few sons who don't like her that much for reasons. So she gets entangled into their world and falls for one of the sons, and there is a lot of drama in this. I will say this is probably the trashiest book I have ever read because the drama is so cringy, but it's one of those series that is so bad that it's so good, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a train wreck. You just cannot look away. You have to know what happens, even though you're like, I shouldn't be reading this because it's so trashy, but like, I need to know what happens, you know? That's the feeling I get while reading the series, and I really want to read it again because I've forgotten so many details about it that I need to reread it. I'm sure I'll fall in love with it all over again. So I'd highly recommend it if you're into really big drama-based books. This is a good one. This one has a lot of craziness in it. And then I have When It's Real. I also read this in, I think it was 2018. I read it shortly after the Royal series because I really loved that series, so I wanted to read another book by them. This one follows the fake dating trope, and it follows this girl, and she is put into a relationship with a famous musician because his reputation is on the rocks. And so the agenda here is that if he dates her or appears to date her, since she's like a good girl, he will look better in comparison to her. Like, she'll make him look better because he's dating a nice girl. So that's the whole plot of this one, and obviously these two do grow to have genuine feelings for each other. This one is really good. I didn't like it as much as the Royal series, but it was also really, really sweet. I love the romance. Also another one that I would love to reread again. And this one, I just finished this one a few weeks ago, and I want to say it's my favorite book by them. Like, I don't know if I love it more than the Royal series. It was so good. That is one small thing. So I just finished this book, so it's really fresh in my mind, but it was just beautiful. I don't want to say much of what it's about because I feel like you should go into this book knowing very little about what it's about. I think this is one of those books where you'll have a better time reading it if you know very, very little about it. So I'm not really going to explain the synopsis, but it does follow a forbidden romance. So if you're into forbidden romances, this is a good one. It's really short, so you'll fly through it. And I really love the messages in this book. I thought they were beautiful. And I'm going to leave it at that because I will talk more about this book in my October wrap-up, so I don't want to say all my thoughts here, but that's the general synopsis of it, the very little that I can give you, and it's good. Just read it. If you're into YA contemporary romance, this is one I would recommend. And then I have Too Late by Colleen Hoover. So I'm a huge fan of Colleen Hoover's books. They are so good. She writes new adult and adult romances. She also has some thriller type of books that I really want to read, but I haven't read those yet. She's just a really amazing author. Her books are so gripping. And this one by her is more of a darker romance. I've heard it's her darkest romance ever, and so I'm really intrigued by that because I love dark romances. So this is the next book by her that I want to read. I actually put it on my TBR for this month, but I don't think I'm going to have time to get to it this month, so I'm going to try to get to it next month at least because I'm so excited to read this one. And I don't know much about what it's about, despite the fact that it's a dark romance, and I think this is one I'm going to go into knowing nothing of what it's about, because I feel like with dark romances, that's the way to go into them, knowing so little of what they're about. So I really can't wait to get to this one. And the last books I got from Amazon is the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. This is a series I just got into, and I love it so much. I love pretty much all the books in this series that I've read so far. I've read up to the score, so I just need to get to the goal, which I'm going to get to really, really soon. And I've been talking about these books a lot because I included them in my September wrap-up where I read the first two books, and I read the score I finished it just a few days ago. So yeah, this one is really, really fresh in my mind. I just need to get to the goal, and I'm so excited to get to it because the score left off on a cliffhanger, and I just need to know what's going to happen now. Like, the cliffhanger in the last book was so intense, and I'm like, oh my god, this book is going to be pretty exciting, I can anticipate, because of that cliffhanger. So I'm really excited to finish off this book. And for a very brief synopsis of this series, it follows this hockey team and their romances. So each book follows each member of this hockey team, well, not the whole hockey team, but they follow 4 of the guys on this hockey team. They all live together in their own house off campus, and that's why it's called the Off-Campus series. It's off campus from their college, and yeah, they're really good. It's a really good new adult series that I can definitely recommend. And then this is going to be very hard to hold up because these books are massive, but I got the entire A Court to Thorns and Roses series, and I'm only going to hold up the first book because these are heavy. So, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I've said so many things about this series. It's one of my favorite series. I am rereading the whole series right now. I just reread A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I finished it the other day, and I loved it almost as much as I did the first time I read it. It's a very weird experience rereading this book for reasons which I won't get into because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read the series, but it's really an interesting experience rereading this book once you have read the whole series. So this is the collector's edition, and it is so stunning. So once you take it out of the sleeve, you get the actual book, which has this beautiful gold embroidered hardcover that I'm obsessed with. I do have the original editions of the books, but they're in storage back in California, and I don't know when I'm ever going to get my books back from California. We need to get that done. It's going to get done eventually, but because of that, I just repurchased the whole series. Also because the series pulled one of my pet peeves where they changed the covers midway through the series. I hate that so much. So I'm like, you know what, I'll just repurchase the whole series because I want my covers to match, and I don't know when I'm going to get my hands on my original copies that are in California. So that was me justifying buying the new editions of the books. So this is what the new covers look like. I don't like them as much as the old covers though, so I don't know why they changed them, but yeah, they just look like that. And I have yet to read the recent book in the series, which is A Court of Silver Flames. Part of the reason why I'm rereading this series is to refresh my memory on everything that happened so that I can go into this book having all the details of what happened in previous books that probably are going to come up in this book. But I've also been reading this series simply because I love this series, and I've been wanting to reread it because of that. But I am super, super looking forward to getting to A Court of Silver Flames. This one follows Nesta, which is Feyre's sister, one of her sisters, and just follows her and, I don't know, I guess her journey. I know there's going to be content between her and Cassian, which I'm really looking forward to. I've actually heard this one is more steamy than the other books in the series, which the second and third book particularly are so steamy. So I'm like, how can there be even more smuttier content in this book than there was in the previous one? So I don't know what to expect, but I am super, super excited to get to this massive book. It is like, oh my god, so many pages. These books are so long, but I love this series enough that I don't mind reading such massive books because I just get lost in these books. They're so good. And my next pile comes from half-price books. So I have a half-price books in my town, and I go there regularly because they have cheap books that are used but so affordable, and most of them are always in good condition. So I love half-price books. This one is actually a new one that they had in like brand new condition, so it hasn't been used, and that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, another Colleen Hoover book that I got recently. This one I heard from a lot of people is like their favorite Colleen Hoover book, and that's what's making me really, really want to read it. So after I read Too Late, because I do want to get to that one by her next, I will read It Ends With Us shortly after because I'm so curious about it, because the praise for this book is immaculate, so I want to know what all the hype is about. Then I got Under Rose-Tainted Skies by Louise Gournal. This book came out, I think it came out, I want to say like 2017, and I remember having just heard about it even before it was released and being so interested in it, but I never picked it up. And I don't know why, because it was so intriguing to me. So I really want to get to this one because I've been wanting to pick it up for years now. This one follows a girl who has agoraphobia, so she never goes outside. She stays in her house, but she becomes interested in this boy who's outside. I can't remember if it's like her neighbor or something, but this boy really takes a liking to her. They come into contact somehow, and so it follows their romance. So I really, really want to get to this one. It sounds so intriguing to me. Like, I just have to wonder, how can you be in a relationship with someone when you're locked inside your house all the time? Like, how does that happen? So I want to know. So I want to read this book to find out. So that's going to happen soon. Then I got Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schadel? I think I'm saying that right. This is a fantasy book, and I think I had heard about it before, but very little. It's not majorly hyped, but I read the synopsis when I was in half-price books, and it intrigued me, though now I can't even remember what it's about, but I do remember the synopsis intrigued me enough to where I was like, you know what, I'll try that out. Even though fantasy doesn't always work for me, I thought it was worth trying out anyway. So I'll get to this one when I'm in the mood for a fantasy. Next I have Listen to Your Heart by Casey West. Casey West is one of my favorite YA romance writers. Her books are just so fluffy, and it's weird because I'm not that into the YA fluffy contemporary romances anymore, but Casey West just writes them so well. Hers are just so cute that I can't help but just love them. They're such easy reads, which I appreciate because whenever I'm in the mood for just reading something that I don't have to think a lot about, that are just simple, I gravitate toward Casey West books because her books are just so easy to read. And I have yet to get through all of her books. This one I have not read yet and don't even remember what it's about, but I know it is a YA contemporary romance, so I'm sure I'm going to love it and can't wait to read it. And the last one from Half Price Books is Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. So I've read one book by Jennifer E. Smith, but that was like years ago. I think it was The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight. And it's funny that I even got this book because I didn't absolutely love that book. I think it was a 3-star book for me, so I don't know what I'm going to think of this one, but the synopsis sounded really intriguing. It does follow this, I think this girl, she wins the lottery. That's all I remember. And then she has some sort of romance, but I remember the lottery aspect to it sounded really intriguing to me. If you couldn't tell, like I've said before, my memory is, crap. So I'll read synopsises of books and be like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then I'll forget what they're about. That's how I am. So that's why I don't remember a lot of what these books are about. But I do remember this one sounded intriguing to me. So again, when I'm in the mood for a YA contemporary romance, I'll pick this one up probably. And this next one, this is the book I'm currently reading right now, and that is Lake's Edge by Lyndall Clipstone. This is the book that I got in my Owl Crate this month, and one thing I want to try to do, if I'm going to stick to being subscribed to Owl Crate, I want to read my Owl Crate books like the second I get them. I remember having so many books from subscription services just sitting on my shelves, not being read, and I'm like, subscription book services are expensive, so you know what? Make your money's worth and read the dang book as soon as possible. So that's why I decided to get to this one pretty much right away. And I'm really enjoying it so far. It is a gothic fantasy sort of book, and so far from what I know it's about, because I'm not that far into it, there's like this darkness that is surrounding the whole, like, this village, and that's all I know of, like, the magic aspect that's going on. But this girl, she does get taken by this boy, and he's like the leader of I think he's the leader of this village, and her brother get taken by him because her brother has this magic that he can't control, and so this guy is the only one who can pretty much help him control it, and so that's why he takes him, and she goes along with him because she wants to stay with her brother. That's all I know about it so far. That synopsis was so bad, but I mean, I'm just getting into this book, so everything's vague. And it's a little confusing so far. I'm trying to put all the pieces together. As I've said before, fantasy books are really hard for me to get into. It's really hard for me to picture everything that's going on, understanding the magic system and how it works, which there's not much of a magic system in this one. There's just magic for the sake of magic, at least so far. Maybe it'll be explained later, but so far I'm still enjoying it. I'm really intrigued by what's going on, and I am looking forward to reading the rest of it. Then I got 2 books from Target. The first one is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have read one book by V.E. Schwab I read one book by Victoria Schwab. She writes her YA books under Victoria Schwab, I believe, and that was This Savage Song, which I really enjoyed, so I've always wanted to pick up another book by her, but never have. This one is an adult book, and it follows this girl, and she can live forever, but even though she can live forever, it means that every person she meets forgets about her like 10 seconds later. And I found that premise so interesting and so sad. Can you even imagine? Every person you meet forgets you instantly. Like, that sounds terrible. Even though she can live forever, she's got to be so lonely. She can't build relationships because everyone she meets forgets about her. That is so sad. But apparently she meets this guy who does remember her and never forgets her. And that's the whole synopsis of it that I know of. So I really want to read this book. I've heard so many good things about it. So there's been so much praise around this book, so I want to get in on the hype. I want to know what it's about. So I do plan to read this one as soon as I can. And the next one I got from Target is The Royals Next Door. This is an adult or new adult, I'm just going to say it's adult romance. It follows this girl and her neighbors, her new neighbors next door are royalty. I believe it's a brother and sister. They move in next door and they're a prince and a princess, and she apparently falls for their bodyguard, and that's all I know about it. It sounded super cute. I love books that have a royalty theme around it. I've never read any books by this author, but I've heard her books are pretty good, and I've heard good things about this one, so I'm looking forward to picking it up. And then these are books I got from random places. These next two, I got this one from eBay. This book was so hard to find for some reason. I don't know why. I had to go to eBay to get it. But anyway, that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I specifically wanted the hardcover of this book, and the hardcover was so hard to find, and I don't know why. It was getting so frustrating, but I eventually found it on eBay. So this is a completely new series from her. This is a new fantasy series that I have yet to read. As I've said before, Jennifer L. Armentrout is pretty much my favorite author, so I really want to read all of her books, and I've heard pretty good things about this one. Don't know a lot of what it's about, but I do know it is a fantasy. However, now that I think about it, I might want to wait until all the books for this series are out before I pick up this one, just so I don't have to go back and keep on rereading the books to have to remind myself of what happened in them so I can read the next book in the series when it eventually comes out, which I don't know how many books are left in this series. I need to look into that. I need to look into what books in the series haven't come out yet. So I don't know when I'm going to pick this one up, but it's Jennifer L. Armentrout, so I'm sure I want to get to it really soon. The last book I have is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book I have been wanting to read because I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I love that book. That's another one that I need to read because I was obsessed with that book after I read it. It was amazing. So I want to read more books by her. This one follows a band. That's all I know about it. It just follows a band and their whole story. I have heard with this one though that the audiobook is a lot better than actually reading it, and I'm not a huge fan of audiobooks, but I might want to listen to the audiobook to this one while reading the book because the book is actually told in an interview format. So it consists of interviews with each of the band members, and I can see how reading just an interview for hours on end while I was reading this book can probably get really draining. And I've heard with the audiobook that there is a different voice for each of the characters, so it can probably be easier to differentiate the voices since there's different voices throughout this interview. So I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook while reading this because that's what's been recommended to do while reading this one. So I'm looking forward to picking this one up because I love The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I hope it lives up to the greatness that was that book. Maybe I'm getting my expectations too high, but I mean, I really love that book. So hopefully I love this one too. And that's all for my haul, my book haul. That was a lot. Yeah, I don't know when I'll be getting books again because, man, I need to read all these before I buy other books. So we'll see what my next haul will be. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them. Are there any of these books that I should get to ASAP? I would really love to know because that would help me a lot because I want to know which of these books I should prioritize. So if you've read any of these and loved them, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more anime-related videos and book-related videos. And also follow me on social media if you'd like to. Those links are in the description box, and I'll be back really soon. Bye!